The question is how to avoid that dash. Hey, it's Denise from loom.com. Let's take a look at one solution. Alright, say you want to create a stripe fabric, but you want to add knits and purls. Well, when you do that, these dashes appear, and sometimes you want them and sometimes you don't. So let's look at these a little bit at a time and show you what's happening. Here is a stripe with only knits, no dashes when you go from knit to knit. But if you add just one row of purl, your dashes show up. And maybe sometimes you don't want them. So here you see it up close. Knit to knit, no dash. Knit to purl, you have dashes. How about if you move it around a little bit even more? So you went from knit to purl, dash. Right? Purl to knit, no dash. Knit to purl, dashes. You see that? You see the pattern? So it's when you go from knit to purl, not when you go to purl to knit. But if you're mixing these up, you don't want to be worrying about this all the time. So there is an easy way in a checkerboard pattern or any other knit and purl pattern where you can eliminate the dashes. Well, on the front part of your fabric, because dashes never go away. So you're just moving them to where you want them. You'll notice that they weren't in the front, but ta-da, here they are on the back part of your pattern. Even here, where I went from knit to knit on this side, the back side is actually purls, and there are your dashes. Here, they're not here on this side, but they're here. So you're just wanting to control where those dashes are showing up, or if you want or don't want them to show up. How do you manipulate where you want them? In this case, I want to just show you how to eliminate them from the front part of your pattern, and for that I'm going to use the checkerboard pattern. Here's a visual of that pattern, of the checkerboard pattern, which is made up of knits and purls. Your problem comes right here when you're switching the color and you're flipping your stitches. So when you're going from knit to purl, I want you to notice that right here between your stitches is that dash, because the purl sits on top of or in front of your knit stitch. Here I'm creating a purl, and you see that yarn, that little bit of yellow that stays right on top of the knit stitch, which is why when you go from a knit to a purl in a different color, it's really apparent. You can really see it clearly. It never goes away. It stays in front of the color, and so when you're changing colors, it's very noticeable. The difference with the knit when you go from purl to knit is that the purl will stay in front and the knit is going to go to the back. You see that? You're not going to see that different color. Now you can see a little dot in between the two stitches. Right now when I'm doing that first row of stitches, you see that little itty bitty dot of blue over the yellow. But once I come back and I close up that stitch right here, you know the little legs of a stitch, the little V, you see how it kind of closes up, and this here you don't see it anymore once I finish that row. It's just gonna go away because knit stitches, well, they kind of fall behind the purl stitch. And so the one solution to this, that's the easy solution as far as I am concerned, to get to this place where you don't have that dash when you go from knit to purl, but you have the solution for both knits and purls, is that when I do the checkerboard pattern, I just do one row of knit in both colors, right? The last one and the next one. And that seems to help. I did that here when I used a rib stitch for my hat, and I put 2 rows of the color, the old one and the new one. And when I turn it around to the front side, you'll notice that there are no dashes, although I'm using a rib stitch. That allowed me to seamlessly go from the rib stitch in brown to the garter stitch in beige. So that's one solution to those dashes. See, when you go to purl, from purl to knit, you don't see it. So just do 2 rows of the knit stitch, one in the old color and one in the new color, and then you don't have to worry about those dashes. I hope that helped. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If this was helpful, please share the video. It helps me. And depending on where you're watching, like, comment, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe.